Right, hello, and welcome. Yep, there we are. Welcome to this tutorial on the government policies. So, first, you may be asking me a couple of questions, like why are you in a suit or the remains of a suit? Well, I've just been to a business meeting to discuss business. So we're going to start today in economics with something that the government is charged with doing as soon as it gets in power. Now, they're the same, quite literally, as the macroeconomic indicators of performance. The first one I'm going to talk about today is it's something to do with the unemployment. Now, unemployment is bad for the economy in many ways, such as it reducing spending. So, if you increase the levels of employment, then you are decreasing the levels of unemployment. Just to give you an overview. So, one of the indicators is lower unemployment. Now, what the government really wants from the economy is something called full employment. Now, full employment dictates that everyone who wants a job is given a job at a given wage rate. However, the government has long abandoned this, as there are too many people wanting a job and there's not enough places for people to go into, for example. So, what we really want is full employment, but obviously Jim's not going to get it because he can't get a job. So, the government's abandoned that a long time ago, but you just need to know that. I think it was abandoned probably about the 1970s, I think. Obviously I knew that because I was alive, and I was one of the person that contributed to that power being happening. So, we've got lower unemployment. Now, there are two things that I'm going to talk about them almost together, really. Not because they lead to each other, but because the sentence for describing them is almost the same, apart from one key word. Now, first one is about inflation. Sorry, just have to remember what it's called. So the government wants a low and stable rate Now, I've underlined stable there because this next factor, which is about economic growth, is low and sustainable rate of growth. Now, it's economic growth, but I'm just going to call it growth. So, what does sustainable and stable, do we need them words? Well, yes you do, because sustainable rate of economic growth, as we know, economic growth eats into our scarce resources. So if we get all of them now, use all of them now, there's not going to be enough for future generations. But we'll talk about economic growth in our next video. Now, the label low and stable rates of inflation. If we had low levels of inflation, that could lead to deflation, which is bad. And too high a rate of inflation means prices will rise too much. So inflation is the value of money. And the higher the rate of inflation, the lower the value of money. I'm going to add another one. It's called the balance of payments, and we want this to be in equilibrium. Balance of payments equals equilibrium. you may be asking, well, what is the balance of payments? Well, to answer your question, viewer, that probably isn't there because no one's going to watch this except for me. But if you concluded it, well, I know, you've got it right, well done. So, you want your balance of payments to be in equilibrium. Now, your balance of payments is an indicator to the economy. Basically I'll talk about it more become more obvious when I do circular flow of income. But the balance of payments represents the exports and imports to a country. So if we are buying more in, this is the balance of payments is separated into 3 accounts: current, capital, and the financial account. And the one we're going to be interested really for this course is, I'm not going to write this down because it's not to do with the macroeconomic objectives really. It's more in terms of balance of payments, which we'll come on to later. So the current account, which is the exports and imports, which is also the balance of payments. We have a trade surplus if we export because we're getting more money in. However, if we import more, yes, we're getting more goods and services into our economy, but we're also spending more money out than's coming in, so you have a trade deficit. So that's balance of payments. Now, sometimes in the exam, you're given them 4, but they may ask you, well, what's another 2? Now, these are variations, really. What we want is economic stability. Now, economic stability is, and I'll go over it in the economic cycle, is avoiding boom and bust in the economy. As I said, I'll go into that in a later video, so you don't really need to worry about this for this tutorial. So we've got economic growth, and we also want a equal and even distribution income. And this is one of the reasons for this could be to do with GDP. So if there's a rise in high earners' income, but the low income earners doesn't change, it could impact the GDP in saying, oh yes, we've increased economic capacity or potential economic growth, and that has benefited our economy. But an increase in the economic growth should represent an increase in the quality of life for all its occupants in the economy. However, if it's uneven, then everyone won't receive the same sort of benefit, if you like that, which is very common of our economy today, as we have lots of people in different states, economic bands of our economy. You've got the high income earners, like Wayne Rooney, or just a footballer, or someone you see, a celebrity, for example. They're on a high income for doing absolutely diddly-bo squat. Anyway, you've got your middle income earners, such as you and I, and you've got your low income earners, which you may see, in the cheaper parts of town. And then below them, you've got the people that can't afford a home. So you can see the scale of our economy, and I was just giving you an example there. So they're the 6 macroeconomic indicators. Now, the government can, objectives, Now we have to ask, so we have to ask, how can our government achieve these? Because they're objectives. Now, it's very all well good in saying, yes, we can, these are our objectives, and that's that. Well, it's not actually that, because we have some policies that the government can use. Now, I'm just going to give you a moment to copy that down or pause the video. Okay, hopefully you've paused it. So I'm just going to rub these off, and I will write down the policies that government can use to apply to these situations. Now I'm just going to tell you what the policies are and give you a quick overview of what they do. I'm not going to go into detail on how each one affects such as long curves and how it shifts them. I'm just going to tell you exactly what each one, the general theme of it is. So one policy is the fiscal policy. It's got fiscal P, and this controls your government spending, so just put G, and it also controls the tax rates in the economy. And this could be, you know, how much tax. So you've got the piece rate, well, that's actually a way of paying it, but you know, distributing tax basically. But again, we'll talk about that more in a later video. So you've got your fiscal policy, and then you've got your monetary policy. And all you really need to know for this part is it affects the so just give me a second to remember what it. Interest rates. Sorry, and that controls your interest rates. I'm just going to check that before I continue. That should be the case. Yeah, that's right. Just checking that for you. So you get your monetary, and you have something called a supply side policy. Now, a supply side policy is aimed at encouraging people to get into work. Now, when people are off work, they get something called what's it called? Social security benefits. That's it. So they get social security benefits for being off work. Now, this may seem appealing to some people, as in certain areas it's higher than the average wage, which is great for the person who's off work, because they get to sit on the backside, watch TV, and get Sky Plus. You always get some person who's complaining that they want 600 channels, not 200, and it's on a Channel 4 documentary within weeks. So, to them people, it might seem quite appealing to be off work, because you've got high incomes from your state pension, your state benefits even. So, as you probably already guessed, the supply side controls state benefits. Obviously, but it's not good for the government, as it has to pay this out, and it's not getting much tax from these people, such as income tax. And then we've also got something called the exchange rate policy. So yeah, I was trying to think if there was another name, but it's just exchange rate. And the exchange rate policy, as it says, controls the exchange rate. I'm just going to let you know. So the exchange rate is the value of our pound. Now, the stronger the value of the pound, the more goods we can buy with our pound. However, the weaker the pound, the less we can buy with our pound. I hope that's given an insight, and we'll see you in the next video.